Because anybody can look good when things are going good. Don't tell me how much man you are, how much woman you are when everything is perfect. You're fake. I want to know how bad you are when you're under trial.
Hey, what's up? This is AWTM, and we are back with the Reesa Teesa story. So, I kind of wanted to wrap this up today. I don't want it to be like a long series or anything like that. We kind of know it's all over social media. We know what she has been through and what she went through with her ex husband. So, the point that I wanted to make today is about some of the things I wanted to clear up some of the things I said on the first video. So he did actually show her a approval letter from Chase for the home of $750,000. So that was not on his phone. So he did actually show that letter. Okay. So even with him showing her that letter, every time they went to go and buy a house, there was an issue. He wanted to make all cash offers, but he did not want to show proof of funds, right? So they never really ended up getting a house. And her thing is, he would watch her get excited about going to get a home and, loving the house and falling in love with it and then never get it. Now, the first time they actually went to go get a house, he actually said he put an offer in on it. And then when she looked at the house on the real estate website, it was actually under contract. So she's thinking in her mind, hey, this is our house. But she did get a call from the real estate agent stating that, hey, what do you want to do with this house? I was just trying to follow up. So he called her instead of calling him. She was like, well, he put an offer in on the house, and the real estate agent, he was oblivious to whatever she was saying. So he said he was going to contact him. So when she contacted her, then he wasn't even her fiance yet, her then boyfriend, about this situation. He got mad. He got angry like a narcissist does. Like when they get confronted and some of their lies or the things that they're saying that are not true, he got angry and got upset. So we have that, right? So that was the first house that kind of fell through. She even went as far as to start shopping for the house. They went to Home Depot and picked out appliances and everything. So it was just like a real heartbreaker when that fell through. And she kind of finally called him when the house said it was sold, and she called the real estate agent to ask, who bought the house or whatever, because she was trying to find out or figure out, was it them that had the house? And it definitely wasn't. So I guess she wanted to believe so bad. She thought he might have surprised her with the house, but it was a dud rather. She ends up getting pregnant by this man. And it's very soon on. So their relationship went very quickly. It was like a whirlwind. Like they went on a few dates, then COVID happened, they got locked down. They decided that they were going to quarantine in the same house, and they kind of went from there. So she ends up getting pregnant, and she ends up having some complications to this pregnancy, and she ends up having to get like a pill to remove the pregnancy because they did not find a heartbeat for the child. That's heartbreaking, right? So the pill that she took did not fully get rid of everything that was in her belly. She actually had to go in and get a DNC or DCN. I think it's DNC. All right, she had to go in and get that, and he said that he could not be there. He just had got promoted to VP of the company that he was working for. So he said he couldn't be there. So she had a friend drop her off, and she couldn't stay because of COVID restrictions. So he was supposed to pick her up. So she's calling him. He has some kind of executive assistant, she stated. And the executive assistant texted her back and was like, he's in a meeting, but I can have him call you. All right. Now, come to find out, all of this is the BS, big cap, right? He didn't have an assistant. This was this man, and he's a psychopath or sociopath. I'm going to say that because he's texting her like he's an assistant or someone else, right? Who does that? So he does that. And he does end up picking her up from her procedure, but he was like very late picking her up. He had even contacted her family and told them not to contact her, let her rest. She needs some rest. And she knew nothing about this, right? So after this situation, they go on, they continue to look at houses. And each time trying to get a house, it falls through. He doesn't want to show proof of funds. He doesn't like the house. He pulls out at the last minute. It's just like maybe it's a game to him at this point. So she stopped getting her hopes up about it. She stopped wanting to go. But in the meantime, this man is still paying all of her bills. So even though she sees these red flags that's going on, even though she sees what's happening with this situation, she is still being taken care of. She doesn't know quite what's wrong with him, but she knows there's something not right. But she's kind of keeping her blinders on again because he was doing everything and taking care of everything in the household. So I don't know if I really got into this on the last one. He's also talking to all those people, right? He's talking to his relatives. He's talking to his brother every morning. He's telling her that, hey, so-and-so said hi. And she's like, hi. She's in another room. She's not paying attention. Come to find out, this man is never on the phone with anyone. So what starts to happen, she didn't know this at that time, though. But what starts to happen is she's getting tired of the things with him, with the house and everything. He also says that he wants to buy her a car. He said his company that he is the new VP of actually is giving him a car. So he wants to buy her a car. So they go car shopping. So we have kind of moved away from the homes a little bit because she was sick of going through that. Now I'm going to dangle something else in your face that I know you want, which is a car. So they go look at cars. She picks out a car. She ends up making her mind on what kind of car she wants. And he tells her that the car is going to be delivered. He actually goes as far as giving her a delivery date, making sure that she was going to be home on that day. And wouldn't you know that that day came and the time frame for the car to be delivered, nothing ever happened. Nothing ever showed up. So she calls him and she was like, hey, I'm sitting here. I've been here this whole time and the car never showed up. So he was like, oh, well, let me call them. Let me see what's going on. He calls back and tells her that the car got hung up in another state on the delivery truck and it will be there at a later date. Needless to say, she had no car. No car was ever delivered. And she was kind of over that, but she still wanted a certain car. He ended up helping her get a car, but it was nowhere near the luxury of the car that she wanted. It was like a Nissan. He helped her put down a down payment or something. So I guess him coming in with the saving grace of helping her get a new car kind of made her deal with the things that were going on. Plus, he was paying all of the bills. Plus, I think she was really attracted to him and really liked him, right? I've seen pictures of him, and people are saying he didn't look like a VP, he didn't look like this, and he didn't look like that. But I don't know, in that situation, like if he set it up to make it look like that to her, she was saying he was wearing like cargo pants and a company shirt to work, right? Which wouldn't look like a vice president would wear that, but he made her believe that since he was vice president of operations and not of the company, he had to walk the floors, he had to be in the warehouse, and that's what he was comfortable in. Now, another factor that may have played into all of this is because they both claim to come from church families who believed in traditional things. They did not believe in shacking up. They believed in marriage and all of that, right? So she wanted to be married. She didn't want to continue shacking up with this man. So she had been so invested, like with the pregnancy and the house hunting, and it was kind of almost like a trauma bond, right? Because they had been through so much together. She kind of stayed with this man because she probably felt invested in this man in that way, right? So they end up, they did get married, and all of this is like within a span of almost a year. Like all of those things are happening with the house, with the car, with the engagement, with the pregnancy. All of this stuff happens very fast. So they are married for 1 month, and she discovers some messages on his phone through his Facebook Messenger where he had been communicating and sending pictures with another woman. Okay? So she does confront him about this. They end up going to counseling, and he was all for the counseling because he wanted his marriage to work, right? He was all for it. So they start talking, and once he had to start taking accountability for his actions, which this happens with most narcissist people, they don't want to take accountability for any of their actions. They don't want to look or be looked at as a bad person. They want everybody to see them as this good person. Once he had to start doing that, he was kind of done with the counseling. So it goes on, and they kind of make up because her mother comes in town and she wants to put on a united front for her mother. And I don't think people should do this, right? When people are in relationships a lot, if they go around family or they have family visit or, to their friends, they want to make it look like everything is peaches and cream in the relationship and you have no idea of what's going on behind the scenes. So this does help the person that's not doing right in the relationship kind of save face and, still present like they are still together, and it might make the person that's been done wrong forgive more easily because you just been forced back into this situation, right? So I think this is what happened when her mother came to visit, that, she was thinking she didn't want her mom to know everything that was going on. So they did present that united front, and they kind of got back together and got over the cheating, which it wasn't physical cheating at this time. It was the talk of it. He told her that he was just playing, like he just was flirting and seeing what was going to happen, and he wasn't really going to do anything. Now, throughout their time together, I forgot to mention that he also stated that a couple of his relatives had passed away from COVID, including his grandmother and his uncle. Comes to find out, these people were already deceased long before. Even a cousin of his as well, I think his name was Junebug, he was already deceased years prior. But he told her this was happening as these events were happening in real time. So also, he said that his ex-wife had actually moved back to Atlanta, and she moved back. He also said he had a close relationship with her children, which were his stepchildren. And one day he called her and told her he was very upset. He called her and told her that the stepdaughter had passed away, right? And he wanted to help with the funeral. And he was calling her to see if it was okay. Now, I don't know if he was getting money from her at this point to help with this funeral, or he was just calling her just like a husband should when they have any deals on big purchases. I think she said anything over $500 they had to talk about. So I guess that's what he was doing. But again, I don't know at this time if this was part of her money as well or it was just his money. So things go on, and they start to get worse. He's starting to have symptoms with his knee. He said it was an old football injury, and his knee is now actually hurting. And he's kind of laying around in the bed, when he's not at work. He's still getting up like he's going to work every day. So we don't know if he was still working or not. She did mention if he was still paying the bills or not, but I'm thinking so. But he was getting up every day like he was going to work. But he still would come home and just sleep for the rest of the day. So this is around the time she started investigating him, started looking into things because things weren't sitting right with her. So she found some information. She was able to find the ex-wife's information, and she actually contacted her. She contacted the ex-wife, and she told her that he is a compulsive liar or a pathological liar, that nothing he says is true. She even asked about the daughter that had supposedly passed away, and it ended up that she didn't even pass away. So she was just getting more information and more information, researching different things, finding out that this person was not who she thought he was. So while she's gathering all this information, he's really sickly now. He's staying in the guest room. He's in tremendous pain. She notices that he starts to lose weight because he's really not eating the way he used to eat. She said he was a 3X when they met, and he was like down to 2X within a few weeks at that point. So she happens upon his phone again one day. I forgot how she said she happened upon his phone, but she's looking through his phone and she went into Facebook Messenger and again. And I know once we find something that may make us go check again because you did it before and you might be doing it again, so I'm going to check, right? So she went through his phone, and in his Facebook Messenger, he had all these messages, and one message in particular from a woman, he was getting her services. So I guess she was a prostitute or something like that. She saw the messages where he was asking how much. She saw, where he asked, is this the right house? Like he was there. And then where he thanked the lady after the situation happened. So at this time, she's fed up. She's done with him. She's finally ready to put him out or whatever. She goes into, like a rage with him and actually tells him he has to leave. He gets his stuff together, even though he's sickly and his knee is hurting. And he takes about 2 bags and he leaves the house. Now, she is happy and relieved that she's gotten rid of this man after he put her through so much. And this is only I'm only touching on a little bit of what happened. If you want to hear the full story, you do have to go listen to that 50-part series. It definitely is worth listening to because it will blow your mind. But he does finally leave the house or whatever. He goes to his aunt's house or somebody's house, which he was on the phone with when this was going on. He goes up to Philadelphia and he tells his family there that she cheated on him, and he came home and caught them, and the guy was a police officer that she was cheating with, and he pulled a gun on him or a firearm on him and made him leave the home. So that's what happened with that. Now, we all know this is a lie. So luckily, one of his cousins that knows he's a compulsive pathological liar and says he's been lying all his life contacted her, and she was trying to clear things up. She told her what he had told them, and she asked, is this true? Because all he does is lie. So come to find out that he was just a compulsive liar. The things that he told this woman, his wife, were not true about the grandmother, about the siblings. He said he had 2 sisters and 2 brothers and 2 half-brothers. He only actually had 2 brothers, right? He didn't have any sisters. So I don't know who these people were that he was talking to or he was talking to. And maybe it was nobody on the phone again like it had been previously. So she finds out all this information. The cousin tells her, I think you need to call the brother because he can inform you on more about him. So she finally gets around to calling the brother. The brother tells her, I don't mess with him. There's no way he was talking to me every morning. I don't deal with him. Now, nobody deals with him because he lies so much. Come to find out, he has 2 brothers. He has a twin, right? His twin brother is a VP of a company. His twin brother is married and has kids. So he kind of, in his mind, took over the identity of his twin brother. Not only that, he does have a criminal record, the brother informs her as well. So he also informs her that their dad was not a preacher. He wasn't in the church or anything like that. And he wasn't a police officer. He was only a correctional officer at one time. So he also said that the mother was not a teacher. The mother was a substitute teacher at one time. So he's telling her all this information and she just is flabbergasted. Like, who was this man that I was living with? It's almost like sleeping with the enemy. So she's done. She wants to draw up divorce papers. So she draws up the divorce papers, prints them out, and she needs a signature. So he ends up coming back from Philly, and she doesn't really know where he's staying, but he did agree to meet her somewhere. So he met her somewhere, and when she saw him, he had lost so much weight. He had went from a 3X to, I think she said, like a large. Like, he was really looking bad. And also, she suspected that he had been living in his car because he looked homeless and he was really smelling bad as well. But she got him to sign the papers. He didn't even read it. So what she put in the papers is that anything that was in the house was hers. Anything he left behind was hers. He didn't read this at the time. So she goes on about her life feeling free and clear, sleeping good. Okay, because she knows she's getting a divorce. He starts to contact her again, telling her he wants to come home. So in her mind, she said he had been talking to someone and they told him that he didn't have to leave. That was marital property and he didn't have to get out of the house. Now, her lease was up in August, so she was leaving anyway, but this was 2 weeks prior. So he's threatening her and threatening her with coming back. And she talked to her friends in the police department and some people that she knew, and they said, well, technically, he would have to be let in if he came back because that's your husband. Now, I don't know, because if that lease was in her name, even if we're married, I know he lived there. I know when somebody stays in your house 30 days, they're considered a resident and you would have to start an eviction process. Maybe it's the same way. So she starts looking for a way out. So as she talks to these cops that she knows and everybody, they find out that he has a warrant. So they were like, okay, he has a warrant. So if he does show up, go ahead and give us a call. We'll arrest him and you don't have to worry about it. So sure enough, one day he does show up. She calls the police because she's not in her car. She's in another car. And they show up and they arrest him. Also, that car that he had been driving was up for repossession. So they left the car behind. All he had was his keys and his wallet, which they took in. The car was left behind with his 2 bags of clothes, and they took him to jail. The car was still in her driveway. What an ugly reminder, right? Nobody wants to see that. So she ends up calling the car company, which she said she had before. I don't know why she has called the car company before. She didn't explain that in the series that I saw. But she calls the car company and tells them to come get the car because they had been looking for it. The next morning, they came and got the car. She's thinking she's done with everything, right? But when he goes to court, he ends up being let out because the warrant that was served, it was expired. So they end up letting him out of jail. So now she's kind of scared. She is moving the next day, and her mother tells her to go stay with her aunt. The next day is the moving day, so she shows up the next morning with the movers, asks them if they can get her out really quickly. She has some extra money for them. They move her all in 2 hours. She's out of that place. Now she can breathe a sigh of relief, right? So her life is going on. She has a new job. Everything is getting better for her. And he does try to start calling her job because he's out of jail. And he's calling her job. He's trying to get in contact with her because he cannot contact her through Facebook Messenger anymore. And he cannot contact her through her phone number. So she sends him a message and was telling him, or she was told to send him a message that if he contacts her again, she will get a restraining order. I have nothing to say to you. You signed all of your stuff away. So when she does talk to him, he says, I was just trying to get my stuff. And she was like, you have nothing. I have nothing of yours. I gave it all away because she did end up giving his things to I think it was an abusive women's shelter or something like that. But she did end up donating his items. So she didn't have anything anymore. And he finally stopped contacting her. So that's where the story kind of ends. Now, the good thing about this story is she has so many views on TikTok, and she was able to express herself and kind of heal herself through journaling what happened. She also kept a physical journal as well. So this helped her telling her story. She wanted to try to help some people and get her story out there. So, maybe somebody going through that same situation would not feel like they are alone. Now, this video or these videos and her TikTok has gone so viral. There are millions of views on it. She was able to make so much money. Another part of the story that I left out is he promised her a trip to Paris, had an itinerary and everything, and that never happened. That was her dream, to always go to Paris. So now she is able to go to Paris. She made something like over $80,000 or something like that, I believe. So she is now going to Paris, which was her dream. So there's something good that came out of the whole thing. Now, she never showed a picture of this man. She never put him on blast like that. But, you know, we are all nosy. So someone actually found out who this man was. Now, I might put his picture at the end. I might not. Just stick around and see, because that was not something that she wanted to happen. But it is already out there. So why not? So this has been the end of my recap on the Reesa Teesa story. I mean, I know people are going to continue to talk about it and continue to watch it. But this will be my last commentary about the whole 50 stories. In case something new happens, then we can come back and look at it and see and review and talk about it and see what's going on. Please excuse my voice and my stuffiness through this whole thing. I'm dealing with sinuses and allergies and all of that right now. But I hope you enjoyed this story. Make sure that you like, you follow, you share, subscribe, whatever platform that you're watching this on. I would appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. This has been AWTM.
I fall in love with myself, and I want someone to share it with me. I want someone to share me with me.
Child, now I don't know what they was thinking about. Everybody's so messy. AWTM with the news you can use. TV shows and your latest celebrity news. Follow me on Facebook, Elise, YouTube, AWTM, TikTok, Elise.